Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv right at the moment, and we are in the book of Exodus. We will be in the Niv through 2025. Next year, we're going to go into the KJV. It does take me about 2 years to go through the Bible because I'm going through it in a nice slow pace that I can handle with the recordings. But I also, the other day, ordered 3 other versions of the Bible, including one that was the new KJV. So we'll be able to have a comparison between the one from, like, it was 1873 to one a little bit later. So there's that. This particular heading here, chapter 16, is manna and quail. 16, verse 1. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin. S-I-N, literally, the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, like as in Mount Sinai. Okay? On the 15th day, the second of the second month of the, after they had come out of Egypt, so marking the time from leaving Egypt, in the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to him, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt." People are always dramatic, okay? Large groups of people have always been dramatic. I mean, that's just the way it is. In case you're a person who has to lead others. Yes, large groups of people have always been dramatic. Because they would rather, die. Go back into slavery than be hungry. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve us, to starve this entire assembly to death. Like, you really were working for the Egyptians, so we just fell for it, right? Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they follow my instructions. On the 6th day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gathered on the other days." So Moses and Aaron said this to all the Israelites, "And in the evening, you will know that it is the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning, you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that that you should grumble against us?" Moses also said, You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord. Moses is like, "I'm not doing this. It's not my magic. Do not think I'm the Savior. The Lord is doing this for you." It's very important. You can never claim the Lord's work. And Moses and Aaron are fine examples of why you never claim the Lord's work. Because they were his prophets, but they still got in trouble. No one is above getting in trouble, save the Messiah, and that's only because he went through life blameless. He didn't sin to need it to be forgiven. So, okay? Let's see. Here we are down there. All right. Then verse 9. Then Moses told Aaron, "Say to the entire Israelite community, 'Come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling.'" While Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing in the cloud. Okay, so they saw the light shining through the clouds, because it says Jesus is light, right? So the light shining through everywhere that there is the Lord and Jesus there, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, like the Trinity. Wherever there is any of them, there is the light. because they are the light. So they provide the light. They're there with the light. The Lord said to Moses, verse 11, the Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That is the time that quail do. I live in the desert in Arizona, or all of Arizona is really basically a desert. So I live in the Sonoran Desert on the Arizona side, in Tucson, Arizona, because I don't really care if you guys, it's readily available. Tucson, Arizona, and we get quail. These types of the plants they're talking about, the animals they're talking about, we get them all. Even the lions. It's just that they're mountain lions. So they come down, though. The closer you live to the mountains, the more likely you are to see them. Tucson is in a bowl of mountains. So the higher up in elevation you go, you start changing your type of climate and everything. So you start getting different plants, different animals, different all kinds of things, because there's the mountain ranges, and we've got things up there. Technically, they're not Tucson anymore because they become a different town as you start getting up the mountain. Because I don't want to make people up who live up there on Mount Lemon get all cranky. We are not Tucson. You're right. You're not Tucson. You are Mount Lemon. I agree. It's a completely different world. You could not look up the Tucson weather and know anything that's going on up there. It would not work for you. It's a drastically different temperatures, like drops by 20 degrees. So a lot different, right? So verse 10, when Aaron was speaking to the whole Israelite community, they looked on the desert, and there was the glory of the Lord appearing as a cloud. The Lord said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them, at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. And then you will know I am the glory of the Lord. That evening quail came and covered the camp. And in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. When the dew was gone, thin flakes like frost on the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, it is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Each one is to gather as much as he needs. Take an omer, O-M-E-R, that is probably about 2 quarts or 2 liters for each person you have in your tent. So a certain amount of grain per person, because it's just a type of grain that he put. Now, it's dew and it's flakes. So I see this interaction happen on my rose garden, because it gets so hot all day long. It's baking the leaves, and it's causing the essential oils to come up like drops. Okay? That will just start glistening on the leaves when it's scorching hot. So when there's no reason for there to be any liquids there. And then in the evening time, when it starts to get colder, because it doesn't hold the heat because it's sand. So when it drops, it just drops quite a bit. Like we could have 70, right now we're in the 70s during the daytime, and in the evenings it's 32, 34, 36 degrees, down like that. So a gigantic drop. And then what happens is those essential oils, where they were liquid oils, now become crystals. And you can literally see the crystal. So this is some kind of element that during the walking and the baking of the heat, then with the dew, they can go collect this and grind it and turn it into something. And so is the true with any of the crystals if I wanted to get them off the roses. But last year I decided not to get them off the rose leaves or anything. And what happened is I had a whole family of hummingbirds come and eat on them. So, it's not like you couldn't. It's just that roses are not something that humans generally want to eat. In this case, it's to keep from starving. The Israelites did as they were told. Some gathered much, some little, and when they measured it by omer, he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered as much as they needed, so they could trust their own judgment. That's good. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. So bake it all now and, get it and make it. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses, and they kept part of it until morning. And then it was full of maggots and began to smell. So Moses was angry with them because there's no refrigerator, right? So it gets gross. Each morning, everyone gathered as much as he needed. And when the sun grew hot, it melted away. And that's what will happen when you reheat something that is crystallized with an essential oil. And the sun gets hot enough again, it'll just recrystallize. And then happen all over again. Unless somebody comes along like a little hummingbird and eats it. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much, 2 omers, for each person, and the leaders of the community came and reported this to Moses. He said to them, this is what the Lord commands. Tomorrow is to be a day of rest, a holy Sabbath day. So bake what you want to bake and boil what you want to boil. Save whatever is left and keep it until morning. So they saved it until morning, and Moses commanded, and it did not stink or get maggots in it. Eat it today, he said, because today is the Sabbath to the Lord. You will not find any of it on the ground today. 6 days you are to gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will not be any. Nevertheless, some people went out on the 7th day to gather it, but found none. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will you, God gets mad, see, Hebrew, so plural, like as in you, right? Refuse to keep my commands and instructions. Like, why are you doubting what the Lord is saying when he's been right all this time? Bear in mind that the Lord has given you the Sabbath. That is why on the 6th day he gives you bread for 2 days. Everyone is to stay where he is on the 7th day. No one is to go out. Now, I know in our busy hustle bustle kind of world that seems sort of crazy to us, but they're in a different kind of environment. They're dealing with different things. Besides, maybe God needs a rest day and he doesn't want to hear them. You have to worry about them not listening to him in the first place, and now he has to go get them. Think of it as keeping the sheep in the pen for the day and just feeding them from the trough, rather than letting him out in the field. And I know that seems very like, hey, we're not sheep. He uses the parable shepherd all the time because he's trying to lead us. So yeah, we are. We're the sheep. He's the shepherd. He's the shepherd. In this instance, Moses is the shepherd. But God is the one who's calling all the shots. So he wants us to rest. No one is to go out, so the people rested on the 7th day. I mean, he does it for a reason. For us, that's actually a Saturday, which is when the Jewish people do celebrate their Sabbath. Sunday is the beginning of the week. We, in America here, and in a lot of the, what I'm going to say first world countries, but I don't really like that. Because, watch how fast a first world country starts acting like what they call a third world country when the resources dry up. So I don't really think it's really that. Okay. But when a first world country, like because of how we focus on our money more than anything else, we have made our week in our mind Monday through Sunday, making Sunday the rest day. When in reality, it's not, because our weeks do go Sunday to Saturday. That's how they're on the calendar. Now, the Jewish culture had a different calendar, and their months went by moon cycles. And some sun cycles, like a combo of the two. Because it started with one and moved into the other, okay? The people of Israel called the bread manna. Manna means, what is it? So it was white, like coriander seed, and tastes like wafers made with honey. So some very sweet sort of resin. Then Moses said, this is what the Lord has commanded. take an ounce of manna and keep it for the generations to come, so that they can see the bread I give you to eat in the desert when I brought you out of Egypt. It's like, okay. So Moses said to Aaron, take a jar, put an omer of manna in it, and place it before the Lord to be kept for generations to come. As the Lord commanded Moses, Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony that it might be kept. The Israelites ate manna for 40 years until they came to a land that was settled. They ate manna until they reached the border of Canaan. And then there's a verse 36. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah, EPHAH, which has no, it doesn't even have any footnotes. So it's just a unit of measure. So there you have it, my friends. And this, to me, I mean, this is what it speaks of to me. It speaks of some sort of resin. That they would be, because that's what it sounds like. It melts away during the daytime. It's there only when the temperatures drop. They need to collect it while they can, grind it while they can, so that they can turn it into something else. Either that, or it could be any number of other things. But, including just as something as the proper wind coming down and blowing seeds onto the ground that normally fall there, and they're just gathering up whatever those seeds are and eating them, right? And turning them, because any seed, any grain can be ground and then used to turn into some sort of food. Everybody does it everywhere in the world, right? So, until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I am an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we will be through 2025. In 2026, we'll start the KJV, and then we have other versions of the Bible, because that's the goal. Read as many versions of the Bible as we can, and take a good look at what the words are, to do a comparison between what did they change, why did they change it, and I don't know, we'll get a definition of why they changed it, but we'll definitely get to see what they changed. And then we can take a good look at the rest of it. So, in this video, though, Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 through 16, which is really just the rest of chapter 17. So, water from the rock. Okay. Chapter 17, verse 1. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sin, traveling from a place to place as the Lord commanded. Now remember, this is a lot of people, so they're very slow, large moving caravan. That's why it takes a long time. They camped at Rephidim, Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses. Give us water to drink. Now, I do pronounce things wrong all the time, so I could be pronouncing that one wrong. That's why I read it out loud. If I pronounce it wrong and you know how it's supposed to be pronounced, please put the phonetic spelling down below. Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" But the people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled against Moses, and they said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to make us and our children and our livestock die of thirst?" The large groups of people complained. Moses cried out to the Lord, "What am I to do with these people? They're almost ready to stone me." Then the Lord answered Moses, "Walk on ahead of the people and take some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and the water will come out of it for the people to drink." So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the place Massah. Massah, Masseh, means testing. And Meribah, which means quarreling. Because of the Israelites quarreled, and because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Wow. Okay. The Amalekites defeated. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, "Choose some of our men and go out and fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands." So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side, one on the other. Oh, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with his sword. The Lord said to Moses, "Write on a scroll, as this is something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the memory of Amalek from heaven." Moses built an altar and called it, "The Lord is my banner." He said, "For hands were lifted up to the throne of the Lord. The Lord, or because my hand was against the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation." So he's just saying the Lord has just decided he doesn't like the Amalekites. So, grumpy people in their first battle, but they won. And now he's got to take them around to the various places, including for the water and the rock, right? So until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. We are in the Bible study part 1. We are, still in the Niv, and we will be all the rest of this year and into next year. But next year we're doing the Old Testament and the Psalms. Well, what'll be posted on the Facebook page is the Proverbs with the Niv language, because what's posted on Facebook right now is Proverbs from the KJV, and I think it was like the 1873, maybe 1863. I think it was 1873 version of the Bible, whichever one of those. I'll read it in 2026. That'll be the Bible where I will be reading the videos. Now, how much of them I'm gonna read in, like, how I'm going to break it down, I don't necessarily know. What I'm trying to say is I don't necessarily know that I'm going to do it in 2 years. I might want to do it in 1 year, but it's going to mean 3 videos a day. So we'll have to see. I have to see how I'm going to work that with time. It'll be a good testing for me next year when doing the Old Testament. Because to do the Old Testament, you need to read multiple chapters. You do. So I have to figure out how I want to handle that. I might still want to break them down into 1 chapter videos, because I feel like multiple chapters at a time can be a bit much, because it's a little hard even with these. So we are in the book of Matthew in the Niv. We are in chapter 22, and is consistent with what we're doing. We're doing all of chapter 22, which means 45 verses. So let's get going. The parable of the wedding banquet. Chapter 22, verse 1. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, and I understand better now that I have to, like, even with my paid job, teach people things. "The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet, telling them, "Come," but they refused to come. Then he sent his some more servants, and said, "Tell those who had been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet." But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants and mistreated them and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent an army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, "This wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not deserve to come. Go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find." So the servant went out into the streets. The servants went out, multiple, not just one, multiple servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, both good and bad, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. So, okay. But when the king came in to see guests, he noticed a man who was not wearing wedding clothes. Okay. People got invited, and because they were invited and it was a wedding, some people got changed, like, well, not dressed like this, let me go get changed, and then, yeah, I'm gonna come right now, kind of thing. Okay. Friend, he asked, "How did you get in here without wedding clothes?" The man was speechless. Okay. And then the king told the attendants, "Tie him hand and foot and throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Well, okay. "For many are invited, but few are chosen." So if you try to sneak in without actually going through and preparing yourself for, for the celebration you've been invited to. Okay. No explanation there. So, next thing, paying taxes to Caesar, verse 15. Then the Pharisees went out and laid plans to trap him with words. Okay. They sent their disciples to him along with Herodians. "Teacher," they said, "we know you are a man of integrity and that you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth." Like that. You aren't swayed by men because you pay no attention to who they are. Yeah, I like that too. Like, before you give me your opinion on something, understand that if your opinion differs from those I feel are experts in the field, and for me, that's like they have credentials, they've studied stuff. I mean, like, credentials. Because, I don't pretend like I know everything. I know a lot of stuff because I have a lot of interest, but I'm never going to say I know more than somebody who's an expert at something. Are you crazy? No. Expert means something to me. So, I adjust what I thought something was for facts given to me by things that okay, so that makes sense to me. Because usually facts do kind of make sense if you understand enough. Sometimes we don't understand enough, so we think that's like, it's nonsense. But sometimes you have to get into a deeper, more granular level, and whatever that is, for it to make sense. Because, like, there's a big difference between physics on one level and quantum physics, like regular physics, and then the physics, because physics is really about how do things move. So how do things move when they're really big? Regular physics is what I'm calling that. It's not really what it's called, but it's what my brain calls it, regular physics. The physics we can see applied in everyday life. Like, if you drop a bowling ball from a high building, you're probably going to kill people. I mean, but it's going to make a big crater, and it will. Because they'll make the holes if it's like pennies and dimes. That's why you're not supposed to throw things like off, say, the Empire State Building or any, like, places, because people have gotten really hurt. Like, so they know that now there's laws for that. So we know that works. It's been tested enough times for us to know that gravity works. And that's, physics. Large scale physics, right? As opposed to quantum physics. When you start getting down at that tiny microscopic level, it doesn't operate the same. The energy doesn't move in a way we would expect when we're studying it. The way we thought it was, based upon what we can see in the bigger world. So it's a separate type of physics. And you can't apply one to the other. But you can apply some of both of those to the type of physics that goes on in space. That's called astrophysics, and it's a totally other study, because you have to study how it is if there isn't, like an atmosphere, right? Where the gravity is different. Right? So there's different studies that go on for different things, so different fields of expertise. So, yeah, you can't be easily swayed just because somebody has an opinion. Tell us then, verse 17, tell us then, what is your opinion? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Oh. But Jesus, knowing their evil intent, because he can spot the trap, said, "You hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me? Show me the coin you used for paying the tax." They brought him a denarius, and he asked, "Whose portrait is this? And whose inscription?" "Caesar's," they replied. Then he said to them, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's." When they heard this, they were amazed. So they left him and went away. Because if he had said, "Don't pay Caesar taxes," then they could tell to the Romans he was in open rebellion, and then the Romans have a reason to arrest him and do their dirty work, because that's really their intention. Anyway, because they can't kill people legally with the restrictions the Romans have on them. So, okay, now next thing. Marriage at the resurrection. Okay. Verse 23. The same day the Sadducees, now these are people who, they don't believe in souls. They believe in Mosaic law, like our senators. I'm not saying all of our senators don't believe in soul. I'm saying that our senators are not where we go to get spiritual advice, generally. Like that's, usually you go to church for spiritual advice. So like priests, preachers, ministers, people like me, right? And then people who are in formal structures and informal organizations of faith, mainstream faith. That's how I usually group them, all of them. And then I'm not differentiating between Christian, Muslim, Judaism. Doesn't matter. That's all mainstream. Mainstream. They got a building. People show up. They got a following like that. Mainstream. Because they're in a building and all that stuff. Yeah. And no shade. I went to those kinds of churches for many years in my life, and they were very incredibly helpful. And people should go to them if that's where they feel they are drawn. So I'm not, go on. If that's what makes you feel connected to God, and this is just something you also do, good. That's beautiful. Congratulations. I love your faith. Keep having your faith. It's good to me. The more faith we can get in more people and help more people be balanced and centered is the goal. And it's the only goal. So it makes it very easy for me. I love anything that helps reinforce all this stuff. And if I'm the reinforcement to somebody else's, then beautiful. Great. Love that too. With my, sort of weird genetics of things in the very physical 3D, I'm like from the outskirts Levites. Like, so respite. Right? So that's what respite is, temporary and for short times kind of thing. So perfect for Bible study. The same day the Sadducees, the senators, who say there is no resurrection, came to him with a question. Because they're like, empirically, this can't happen. It's like scientifically, this can't happen, sort of thing. Teacher, they said, Moses told us that if a man dies without having children, his brother must marry the widow and have children for him. Now there were 7 brothers among us. The first one married and died. Since they had no children, he left his wife to his brother. The same thing happened to the second and the third, right down to the 7th. Finally, the woman died. That's a lot of husbands. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife will she be of the 7, since all of them were married to her? Jesus replied, You are in error because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God. Okay. At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. Your marriage vows do not extend into heaven. After that lifetime, you are no longer spiritually or soul tied to that people as a guarantee. You are free each lifetime to decide who your marriage partner is. It's a beautiful gift, right? Love that. They will be like the angels in heaven. Right, get you. Yeah. But about the resurrection of the dead, you have not read what God said to you. I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. D. Exodus 3:6. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. When the crowds heard this, they were astonished at his teachings. It's a lot different because he's talking about different things. Because he's like separating resurrection of the dead, where he makes the dead rise, right, in Revelations, or as opposed to you've died and your soul rises. So the Catholics have differentiations for this, if I'm not mistaken. One's called particular death, when it's your individual death, as opposed to a different term when it's societal death. I can't remember what that one is called. I also have no objections to these terms because they work very well. And anything that makes the understanding best is what matters. Because it's not about me. It's about the Word of God. Okay. The greatest commandment is what this one is called. Here, verse 34. Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. They're like, uh-oh. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? Ooh, Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Ooh, ooh. E, right? So that's Deuteronomy 6:5. So they would have known. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Oh, Leviticus 19:18. Now, all the law and prophets hang on these two commandments, because they are talking about your conduct. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about how you interface with the world, regardless of the world is interfacing with you in any one given moment. They're telling you. He's telling you. He expects you to respond with love and gentleness. Because that's how you show God you love him, because he is love. So, you trust him. Whose son is Christ? Verse 41. While the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, what do you think about the Christ? Or Messiah. Whose son is he? The son of David, they replied. He said to them, how then is it that David, speaking by Spirit, calls him Lord? For he says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemies under your feet. Psalm 110. 1. If then David calls him Lord, how can he be his son? Because you don't address your children that way. No one could say a word in reply. And from that day, no one dared to ask him any more questions. Because he's tricking him at their own game. Because he knows. He knows. Because understand that he would have, of course, studied very hard all these prophets. because he knows who he is. An angel came and told him who he is, right? And so he understood that what was going on in the prophets, where they were talking about the Messiah, the way that, the people were talking about, the Messiah, that it was an instruction manual. What's in the words of the prophets that predict the future Messiah, it was an instruction manual for Jesus, because these are the things. So he understood what it meant. And, so he would have studied from the time he was quite young what he was supposed to do. Because when you know it's what you're supposed to do, you know it's what you're supposed to do. So then, if you are that person, and he is the Messiah, so he was that person, he studied. He studied, he understood the assignment, and he did what he was supposed to do. That's why he had that strong faith to be able to rebuke Satan. That meant he had to have those things memorized. He had to have them imprinted on his heart to fulfill them properly, like it says in fulfillment of the scriptures. You don't do that by accident. You do that with intention. So may we go about in the world today and be intentional with what we're trying to do. Until a little bit from now, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we will be through 2025. In this video, we are in Psalms 27. And it's a longer psalm, but we're only doing verses 1 through 6 in this video. And tomorrow, you will be able to see the conclusion of it, which is verses 7 through 14. So, let's jump in. This is a psalm of David. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. From whom shall I be afraid? When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war break out against me, even then I will be confident. One thing I ask of the Lord, this is what I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. Me too, David. To gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. For in the day of trouble, he will keep me safe in his dwelling. He will hide me in the shelter of his tabernacle and set me high upon a rock. He will keep me out of danger, that's for sure. Then my head will be exalted above the enemies who surround me. At his tabernacle, I will sacrifice with shouts of joy. Most definitely. I will sing and make music to the Lord.